Hey everyone, thank you for clicking on this video. If you clicked on it, you're probably brave because it has 0 views. So thank you very much. It takes a real person with courage to do that. Anyways, the topic of today's video, which is a little bit of a departure from my usual channel topic of gacha video games, is going to be about my art journey. And something inspired me to look back today because yesterday I really felt like lately I've just been really feeling a lot of, you know, motivation. I feel very proud of how far I've come in my art because I think it's was really like a couple of years ago. It's been a couple of years since, I thought like, oh, I want to take my art more seriously, and that never really came to fruition. So I think like a lot of youngsters out there who love to draw, like I used to just never think it could be a viable career path for me to do art. And that just made me treat it as a hobby. And I love this hobby so much. Every single time I was in school, I was doodling at my margins, and like every single free space, like if I finish a test early, I would draw on it. And yeah, so honestly, drawing was my outlet, and I still am a very quiet person. I I can clearly see now looking back that I was trying to express myself. Like, I don't know if it was conscious what I was doing really. Like the decisions I would make in drawing these images, like I can't remember like consciously making any of these decisions, to be honest. But it's interesting to see maybe reverse engineering my thought process back then through now, because I really can't dig and see. But I do remember drawing some of these, but I don't remember what I was thinking anymore when I drew them. All right, so let me get into this. So this is like one of the first pictures. I used to like live by my scanner, like um at the time when I was in elementary school, I started watching anime. That was a huge, huge, huge influence on my art style and what I wanted to draw and everything like that. And so, of course, like at the time, a lot of artists were traditional artists. I saw them on DeviantArt. And a lot of people were using like watercolor, like pencil sketch, mechanical pencil, colored pencils, on DeviantArt that were like traditional artists. I think also like Copic markers, like all these things that were inspired by manga and using like pens, brush pens, and so on. Like, so that kind of lineage of art, which really influence what I use, which I can see in this scan. I remember asking for like a Prismacolor set, probably for my birthday or something. And also like I don't know where I got this Micron pen. I maybe I also purchased it. I don't know if this is Micron, but I think it is because it just looks so thin and consistent. I think that's what it was. But yeah, I didn't know anything about blending, but I kind of like tried to shade. Like for some reason, I think I was taking art class when I was in 2nd grade, so I knew kind of like what shading was. Did I know like consciously why shading mattered? Like probably not, but I knew that like if you're drawing something, you should probably shade it dark on like the shadow side. And I remember drawing this. I remember the feeling like, oh shit, like I'm good. Like I'm so good. And I felt like super proud of this when I was a kid. And this is not like an anime character. It's like someone's OC. At the time I was on DeviantArt a lot, and so a lot of what I was draw was just like for contests, okay? And I would draw other people's OCs. Um yeah, that's what I was doing. All right, so and then I got my art tablet, my Wacom Bamboo Capture, which I still use when I was in 8th grade. And I remember it was like $80 and we got it from Best Buy. I still use it, but you know, they don't support it anymore. They don't make drivers for it anymore, but luckily there is a open source alternative, so that's what I do nowadays. But I took this picture out because I'm glad that I wrote the date on it. Interesting to do that because, you know, I don't have the date here. Maybe it's still on the paper. I still have some pictures like these, I think, in my house somewhere, but so 2013, that is the year I received my drawing tablet, and like honestly, I didn't even watch Steven Universe, so I don't know why I drew this, but I did. And this is kind of interesting because it's like painting, like no line art basically, which is a little bit different from mostly what I did. So I don't really know what inspired me to do this at all. Maybe just stuff I saw on DeviantArt, right? And yeah, I don't know. There's not really any shading in the skin. Like there's some highlights, but there's not really any shadows. Honestly, I was just guessing, like 99% of the time, using my imagination to draw. Alright, I was also like super into Homestuck. I think just more as a teen though. Um, and I don't know. I don't remember this person anymore, but like, wow. Yeah, I don't have anything to say about this. Sorry you had to see that. Yeah, I used to be like literally low-key a furry, okay? I was like, what are they called? I don't remember. Brony, except I was a girl, so like I was not like a 30-year-old man. Um, I don't remember if this is like someone's OC or if I made this OC, but this is very interesting. I think this is like very interesting to me seeing this. I used to draw hair with like these lines and then like these sparkles that I like definitely stole from someone I saw doing it. So yeah, I don't really know what to say about this one. Interesting. I wish I knew the date. All right. So this is kind of like, oh wow, it's so gross, man. What was I doing? She's that zombie color. I used to love the idea of these like hats. I don't know where I got it from. These like animal hats. And I think this was the year of the dragon, so it had to have been 2013 as well, right? Maybe 2014, I don't know. Not honestly that tapped in, but I wanted to draw something for that. And this is my attempt at shading hair. I gave up on this, obviously. Like, it was probably too intense for someone like me at the time to draw, but honestly, like, I'm impressed. Like, I had ideas back then. Not gonna lie. That's pretty impressive. Alright, this is just gross. And this was, like... I think this was emblematic of the style I did when I was, like, in middle school. Like, I had some line art. I don't know why there's, like, 20 layers of this, because what about this picture needs 20 layers? I couldn't tell you. Seriously. But at the time, once again, with the anime influence, it was like line art, base colors, and cell shading. And that was life. And also making sure that the hair around the face had the skin color in it, and that was it. And that was the vibes back in, 2012 and stuff. Alright, more evidence of me being a furry. Honestly, I don't know who this is. Like, who is this? I think, honestly, this might have been a gift art because look at this gift box in the hand. I think this might be someone's OC, like, on DeviantArt, and for some reason, like, I would make birthday art for people that didn't care, like, didn't know me. I don't know. Okay, here it is. Another birthday art. Like, this person probably didn't know me, but I might honestly have been jacking their style, which is maybe why I felt like I had to pay homage to them. But honestly, during this time, I really liked the style that I was doing, like, with this brush. It was like... I don't think it had much blend to it. But it was like a rectangular brush. And sadly, it's lost to time, but I used to draw on it every single time. Another DeviantArt person's OC. What is this? Okay, so this, I can't tell you when this would have been from. I feel like this could be from like late high school based on how different it is from my older work. But yeah, I guess I had an idea. I don't even remember drawing this. I think I drew this based on someone. I took like a reference of someone's selfie and I thought they were really pretty. So I just like, they might have even had blue hair dye. And then I just thought like, oh, what if it was water? And this water texture is like, okay, it's like, I don't know. It's not the greatest, but this is an interesting work because it's so weird. I think it's a departure from what I was usually doing. Anyways. Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of when I embrace more painting, I think, because yeah, I didn't adhere to like just doing strictly like line art and wow, this is like such a scary face, but I remember like thinking like, oh my god, this is like so good. I'm never gonna like top this. This is like my best work ever. And back then I was like so precious about my work that like even if it looked like chopped, like just messed up from the ground up, I refused to like erase it entirely. Like, and I could only draw faces from like one angle, which was this angle, okay? This 3/4 angle, like a little bit from the top down. And yeah, you couldn't tell me anything about that. Like, I even gave her like dimples. Like, oh my god, this is incredible. Yeah, it's pretty gross. But yeah, I was really into Danganronpa for a time. I didn't even play the game. I just read the thing on Something Awful Forum, like the playthrough, literally, and I was like so into it. I loved Kurigiri so bad. Alright, okay, wait, hold on. Why? Like, I already shipped Kurosami when I was like, I don't even know when this is from, like when I was 12. And yes, I think I was watching this when it aired. So whenever that was, whenever Legend of Korra first aired, I was out there on the Kurosami front lines, okay? I don't give a damn. Okay, I think this is a picture that's very interesting because, like, yeah, it has the line art. I think this is probably from middle school. And once again, this is probably like some random people's OC. Like, and also I was like so open to furries back then. Like, I didn't have any furry OCs myself. I mean, I like warrior cats, so naturally it would be very easy for me to be a furry. But yeah, I was like drawing furry art like all the time, or like anthro art, like which is kind of crazy to me now because I never do that anymore. Okay, this is like a gross drawing. I think I was just color picking from this picture, and I don't even know. I think I played some Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, but I wasn't smart enough to beat it, so this was a LARP. Okay, this is a character from a comic I was reading at the time. I was like super into like random mouse webcomics, and I thought her character was so pretty. And I think I was trying to draw a scene from like I don't know, either the comic or I just wanted to depict her being happy because I just liked her so much. And this is like such an interesting painting to me. I kind of remember painting this and being like, wow, like this is pretty gorgeous work. And like I tried to do it like underwater vibes with these like random ass textures. I don't even know where that's from, honestly. Like I might have overlaid just like a picture of the ocean on this. And I'm actually very impressed because of like the amount of just forethought and like trying to add texture into it. Even when I didn't know what the hell was going on clearly. And also like can you not see? Like I'm actually so shocked that this was my style. Like I just had this pointy ass chin. Like you could cut someone with that chin and like the fucking eyelashes just yeah, incredible. Super flat eyeballs just I'm very surprised. I think I would set like this line art to be like overlay or like overlay, so that's why I would have these like red edges to it. And I would color underneath, but this is quite a sweet image. If only, yeah. I think this is like later, like a more mature version of like what I was doing with this, maybe. Like the line, I think the general drawing, like it didn't improve very much, but I do think it got like more organized almost. I watched NGE when I was like, I think in high school, so this must be like the last year of high school actually. Um, and yeah, I was still heavy into doing the anime style and then kind of also like kind of also imagining how they might look if they were real people. So that's why I had like her round lips and a very round face. I think I started to incorporate that a little bit more. Also that she's like a child. Or yeah, preteen or something, I think. Here and then oh, I did one of Asuka and I wanted to do one of Shinji, but like honestly, it's interesting to me. I stopped drawing boys after a certain point, like, and I think during this time, I was very process driven. I did the line art, I did the base colors once again, I did some cell shading. Not the most interesting, but that's just how it was back in the day. Nothing much to say about this, I think, for me. I think this was an interesting, like, kind of departure, but also you can just see, like, the Crimson Chin and that kind of influence. Like, I don't know why this was my style. Like, a little pointy nose, like, very tiny little heart-shaped lip, and, like, this eye. Like, I don't know where I got this from, and I'm scared. I think this is from a character from Kill la Kill, which I didn't even watch, so I don't know why I drew her. Okay, so this is from 2014. So I was kind of painting a little bit too back then. Wow. I don't remember what I thought of this, but once again, I can't draw any other angle to faces, and I draw everyone with the same face, which I didn't really feel like I was doing at the time. But something that would always bother me was that it would look messed up if I flipped it. And I don't know why I just drew with like this inherent slant to my drawings, but I think I've corrected it now. This is one of the later drawings that I think I did. I don't remember the exact date, but I do feel like it was probably like freshman year of college. And I remember when I was drawing this, I was like really impressed with myself. I was like, damn, I really outdid myself this time. I like did my big one, like, damn, so good. But I really do still think this is like pretty cool. Like I was using like the soft brush here, which I didn't do, or either just blur, which is kind of a departure from my earlier work. I think I also really like this dynamic pose. I really feel like her knee does come forward, kind of. But, you know, obviously I could improve it, you know. And I want to show this, I don't know why. Like, I do remember having this idea in my head of, like, this person with this, like, fuck-ass, like, I don't know, mullet or some shit. Like, I don't really remember what the theme was. I think it was just kind of, like, your future self, like, visiting you or something. And I just remember like, oh, I have to express this, like I don't know why. And I even had like nudity, like, okay, and like in this toga, and I like drew, I think I must have like drawn this from reference, kind of the background, which I find so interesting that I did, because like for a really long time I just like stopped working with backgrounds, even though sometimes for my older illustrations I would like be keen on putting in a background even though I hated them. Like I had such a willpower back then. But I think that's something that's really cool about going back, like just realizing like nowadays, like, oh my god, is it gonna look like this or that? But like back then I was just like, okay, it looks like ass, and I'm clicking submit on DeviantArt, I don't care. Which, you know, I think that confidence um is really important when you're young. Just pushing through like this doubt, because if you're frozen by doubt, you just don't end up doing anything. So, you know, I appreciate that. I thought I was a shit back then. Okay, so now I'm gonna move into my hope modern day art. So let me do that. So this is like actually a redraw of that Sayaka art, and because I think I always felt like, oh, I really like that art that I did, but I didn't really think it was great how it turned out. But I kind of like this. There's like a little bit of correction to like the pose, and I think this was from when I moved back home. I feel like it was, or maybe it was during college, you know, one of those times when I started to like use the brush. Like I would draw a line art and color it in and just kind of smudge it for shading or whatever. And I kind of appreciate that. I like this. I kind of like this image. It's not perfect, but I do like the face. Um, yeah. I think the merits still apply from like the original image. Okay, I like the cropping of this and staging a little bit more. Yeah. I think I also tried to render the materials a little bit differently here now that I notice. Like, I tried to make this plating like, oh, this is plating, so I want it to be shiny and stuff. This is a ribbon, I want to be shiny. And that kind of thing. But I think at the time still I really wasn't using any references at all. I was just kind of imagining, which is so powerful to me, like, and interesting to me that I was able to like use my imagination like to this extent because when I think of myself as an artist sometimes, like in the present day or in the past few years, I feel like it would really I would really feel stumped sometimes and it would cause me not to want to like create. So, oh, this is not what I want to go do. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is also from when I moved back home because I think, yeah, Valorant Alpha, it was probably Valorant Alpha or Beta had just come out and I was playing that. So yes, I was drawing some fan art. So I feel like this is from when I moved home and still at this time, I really wasn't using any references really for materials or even like anatomy. Like I never did any studies. This was all just kind of based on imagination, which shows obviously a lot. And I remember like really liking this picture a lot. And also I realized I think here like you could just copy paste stuff that you didn't want to draw again. And this is definitely related to oh, what the where am I? Okay. Okay, I think this is all in like alphabetical order, which is what's happening. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so this raised picture is from when I moved home. Okay. And this is when I moved home as well. I drew this Shelly picture. Once again, the anatomy is all messed up. Like, why is her torso so goddamn long? But I think I really liked how I rendered this fabric, this swim fabric, and I couldn't let it go. I was really precious about my art still. Like, yeah, once again, I didn't want to erase anything that I thought like looked good. Even if I, the idea being like, oh, I can't paint this again. Like, so that's, I think, how I kind of figured, that's kind of a sign. If you feel like you can't re-render something, then you probably don't really know how you're doing it, right? So it just kind of speaks to your knowledge. But I remember also feeling like, oh, this looks like really damn good. And but I wasn't very proud of the pose because I knew it was awkward, but I didn't know how to fix it. All right, let me X this. All right, so this is like a raise I did. Like I think even a few months later, I was drawing like this, and I thought like, oh, I want to fix like the awkwardness of the pose, and I want to fix like the anatomy kind of. And I feel like this is okay. Like I don't really love it. Like it's all right, basically. Yeah, I don't have much to say about it. Like, the facial features are all right. Like I feel like at this point, maybe I was doing some level of investigating from reference. Because, I feel like I see just like this chin, this mouth area, and the eye area being represented, and like the eyebrow ridge, which I don't think I used to do. So that's quite a departure. And I'm glad I labeled this one because now I can see, like, yeah, I was kind of like drawing like this in 2022 as well. This is from a reference, I believe. Actually, it might not be reference, but I was watching Westworld and I thought that that villain was like so handsome, but I don't think there was much pictures of him. But I would just want to draw him because I actually really loved his like leather jacket or like top. And I don't really remember what this is supposed to be. It might be a gun. But yeah, you can see I'm trying to like, and this is like realism, like trying to add more realism into it, even though his like eyes are really big. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say this is great by any means. Also, I kind of even like how I did this shirt more. It's like a lot more painterly. with like big strokes. I can see that I was just scribbling back and forth, like I didn't give a damn. And the brush size was obviously maybe inappropriate. Like, I think I really never used to work in a large brush at all. Like, I would just work in a small ass brush, okay? And that shows. Let me go to these. I think these is probably also from like 21 or 22. I want to do like a series of every single like lead character, and I remember doing Aatrox was so hard because like I really never drew like dudes' bodies. So it was like so crazy, but honestly I still really kind of like this drawing, and I still kind of stand by it because of like I like that kind of like the abs. They're really flat, but I just kind of like how they look texturally, and I think working on his armor kind of like, you know, these are things that were really challenging for me because I never really work on like detailing and texturing a lot. So it was interesting to see how I tried to mimic that. Um, yeah, some vague shapes taking place, but I still kind of like this drawing. It's pretty chopped, but I like it. Okay, let me do this one. So honestly, this drawing, looking back at it, is kind of crazy because I feel like it's so reminiscent of my earlier drawings from when I was a teen, because I feel like there's like this focal point to it. And that's really interesting to me. Like, I don't think I consciously thought that like I should have a focal point in this image, but now I kind of see there's some pretty decent like structure to it in terms of like my planning. But I didn't really think of it like that at the time. And I think when I was drawing this, I was like, oh, I want to represent like one of her iconic moves, which is Charm, of course. Yeah, I kind of like this. It's pretty gross though. Like I was using actually a lot of like airbrush tool, I think, to paint right now because I felt like I heard that like, you know, professional artists use like airbrush tool like all the time on everything. Like it doesn't matter what it is, just use airbrush tool to render it. And so I was kind of taking a page out of that, but I think it becomes interesting because I do have like these sharper, like only like very mildly like sharper parts, like the eyelashes, but like this was all airbrushed on. So it's interesting to see that. I was trying new things. Even though, yeah, it's pretty ugly, but still kind of cool. Kind of like that. Okay. I think this was also, I was very like proud of myself for doing this because I really love this style. I don't even know who influenced me about this, but thank you because I just really loved this at the time. I was like, oh my god, it looks like really good. The shading, like on the fur, like the vibe was kind of like quote unquote pixel art, like render, I think for me, which I really like. I think it's a unique look. It's interesting. And these hands are like a little bit kind of good though. Like, I don't even know where I learned this from. Like, what the hell? What are they doing? And wow, I used to draw full bodies like a lot more because nowadays, like for a while, I was really just drawing half body, but being able to draw a standing pose is like super impressive. So I'm pretty impressed. I don't know how I did this because once again, I was just always working from imagination. So I think this is also another example of how I was kind of rendering back then. I think I was, yeah, trying to learn more, working from some reference sometimes, and trying to introduce a shadow here. But I do remember drawing this, having an idea for like a brown skinned character with like red spiky little hair. I still quite like this look. I might use it again, honestly. Like it's low-key kind of nice. And this was all from like 21 and 22, I feel like. I took kind of a gap in 23, I feel like, because I do remember actively in 2024, like I think maybe because of a bunch of reasons, but like I was thinking to myself, I was going through some ish, and at the same time to myself, I was like, you know, I want to draw a lot again. Because drawing was always one of those things that I loved, right? and I just want to get into it. I want to get better. And so I was doing this for like, I think Inktober or something. Like, honestly, just trying to like draw every day, kind of like doodle out my ideas. And honestly, I kind of like this drawing. It's not the best. Like, it's definitely not even like super eye-catching in any way, but these are some fun brushes. I don't even know if I have this brush anymore. Like, I did download a bunch of them from Creato's Resource website because I think they do have a pack. I do remember downloading a pack of like ink brushes and like tones and washes for Inktober that year. But yeah, you know, I never really finish out my commitment to those, so I'm really trying to lock that in this year. As it approaches, I'm feeling very refreshed, so this was kind of my level in 2024. Like, I think I was working with more anatomical references. I was doing some figure drawing from photographs. I think I had just bought like a bunch of packs from ArtStation. And yeah, I really prefer to buy them, even though it's like, oh, but you can just find it for free. But at the end of the day, like, I did like supporting the studios that made those images. And yeah, just getting to have them in my library means that I can like look at it for as long as I want, and you know, I don't have to be on the internet, which I think is quite distracting. So just having that in my toolkit helped me to do a little bit more of that work. Okay. Okay, so I'm glad I also picked this picture because I labeled it, and this is a portrait from imagination of one of the characters from a game I was playing called Pentiment, and I loved that game so bad. Like, I spent just days in it. Like, it's like a choose your own adventure kind of game, and I adored it so much. But yeah, you know, it's really a lot about dreaming, so I wanted to like draw him kind of sleeping, and I kind of like how this turned out, honestly. I do see a lot of like better structure about the shape of the head and the facial features in general, so I think there's like definitely a lot of evidence of just me working with more real life reference in this picture. And as well as I do appreciate this darkness here. So yeah, I kind of like this picture. It's fun. I think it's quite visually appealing, but you know, one area of weakness I've always had is hair. Like, I still don't know how to like render hair very well, so I'll probably have to tackle that with some studies. Yeah, but that is a fun game. All right. Okay, actually, this is like something from 2023. Now that I think about it, or maybe even I don't know, but this is like a Pink Pantheress portrait I did from a drawing, or sorry, a photograph I found on Google. And at the time, I was like so into her. And what I absolutely loved about her was her soft eyebrow color, like bleach kind of brow look, and then like her eye shape is just incredible. Like, she has like these doe eyes that I really loved to draw, and I really loved that reference picture because I think also I really loved her hair in it. She had like these, I think, locks, like little locks, and you know, they were tied up into two buns, and I just thought it looked so, so good, and I really wanted to draw it. This is kind of an intermediary in this because I know I finished it out by rendering it more, but this was probably like a breakthrough for me, honestly, as far as like portraiture goes, because I think comparing it to the portraits I was drawing like prior to 2024, 23, I think it's leaps and bounds ahead really in my ability to draw from observation, right? Like, I think I was capturing certain shapes like really accurately, and also like really thinking about the volume of this eyeball. Like, in older images, looking back at those portraits, like the eyeball will always look so flat, but now I kind of was like learning about the planes of the face and applying that to my portrait drawings. So yeah, I felt like super, super proud of this image at the time, and I still really like it. I'll still really say that it's like one of the best drawings I ever did, even though this is like an unfinished version of it. But yeah, I really liked it. And then what was interesting about working on the hair this time was like, you know, you don't want to draw every single detail. So I was kind of thinking about like how I could fake detail at this time and like instead of symbolic drawing, kind of like drawing to have an effect of having the detail without having to draw every single strand of hair. Yeah, this is, I think, one of the, I do remember doing this because it was very recent. It was probably like last year, maybe October and stuff like that. I remember doing this, and I did this with an intention because I wanted to work on my textures, which has always been very weak about me. And I bought this pack. This is based on a pack, I think it's called the Primitive Shapes pack. And I bought it off ArtStation, and I fell in love with it because I'm pretty sure I saw it on Proco at the time. And I always thought those shapes were so goddamn cute. Like, I just want them. And I just bought it because I like to support the studio once again. So, yeah, I really adore the pack. It has tons of configurations of shapes, colors, and lighting scenarios. But I just remember, like, this angle is actually, like, kind of really deceptively difficult because, you know, it's, like, this quite top-down, like, angle. And sometimes when you're in these in-between angles, it can be easy to default to just doing, like, okay, 3/4 or straight on or whatever. But, like, to capture the angle accurately was definitely a challenge for me, and I feel quite proud because I think you can tell that these are wooden blocks that have paint on them. So like some scratches in the paint, how paint makes it has like a little bit of a shiny surface to it and some luster. So I really enjoyed that about doing this, and I still really like this study that I did, even though I'm not sure if I should call it that, but maybe that's what it is. This is another example of one of those shape studies that I did maybe like as well during around the same time. I think I was doing them pretty frequently, like at least a couple of times a month, I want to say, because, you know, I was like pretty intent on improving. And this was something that I really enjoyed doing. And because it felt so meditative to just not worry about like deciding where anything was, because, you know, the picture tells me where it is, and all I have to do is think about representing it with some accuracy and also like depicting the form. So I do think this is obviously an imperfect image. I did think that the original reference was very interesting because of the different temperature color, like the red coming from this side and then some blue coming from that side. I still really like this picture. Like, to me, it's just so, like, I really love this surface and then this roundness. And this was when I started to introduce some like colors into it because I was doing a bunch also just in black and white at first, but I really want to work on the color aspect. So I did jump into it, and I'm happy that I did. And it's important when you're picking like studies to do stuff that you feel is easy for you to do, because what's the point of pushing yourself over something that's supposed to be like enjoyable, in my opinion? Because for a while, you know, I took that punitive approach to studying. Sometimes you do need that, you know, tough love, that strictness to accomplish certain things, right? But I think on the other hand, at the end of the day, our practice is about, it's about enjoyment and fulfillment and discovery. So that's really keeping a balance between the two. For me, learning to do that balance and pushing through some parts of discomfort has really allowed me, I think, to get a lot better now. Even though I'm still not perfect, obviously, by any means, but I'm I'm feeling happy with the progress I'm making. So okay, so this master's study is based on a painting by Clint Searly, or Kierley. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say his last name, but I found him one day when I was looking for someone to learn from on ArtStation, and I was just kind of looking up, like, probably like Magic the Gathering and all that kind of illustrators, because I feel like at the time for me, it was my dream. I was reading Game of Thrones, and part of my motivation was to be able to draw fantastic images, like images of fantasy. So armor, dragons, like magic, monsters, and Magic has a ton of those, and Magic's artists are like incredible, absolutely incredible. And Clint has absolutely beautiful work that like it's so inspirational. It's unbelievable, and I feel like when I saw his original, it was so striking and impressive that I really wish that I could paint something like that. So, and I also started working with a teacher in last year, I think, end of last year or beginning of this year, I don't remember. And at the time, you know, I was like, okay, I want to take my art seriously. I want to improve. I really do. And I'm gonna, you know, before that I did buy some courses, you know, but I was never able to stick with them. So I just thought, you know, I've always worked very well with a mentor at my side, like whether that was for school and stuff. Um, so I decided, you know, it's worth it. It's worth it to me to invest some money, um, to get better at art. And I think at first I was doing an assignment that I was just doing an illustration, one of her illustration projects that she gives every single student, and I was really floundering on that. Like I struggled so hard and I felt really bad about it. And at that point I thought like, oh, I should go back to the drawing board, like switch gears. I felt a little bit bad because the thing about me is like I love starting stuff, but I don't like finishing it. And I never really finished the improvements to that illustration, but I am, you know, I still do feel happy that I did make an illustration, I colored it, and I submitted it at the end of the day. That's what happened. The improvements were very hard for me to make, but I'm glad I did it because I learned a lot about myself in that process, and like I got to go through the process of making an illustration, making some thumbnails. But I think the one part that was really lacking was reference. And I think that was a struggle for me because I did pull a lot of references, but I didn't end up really using them in the final illustration. I don't really know why. I think I have a lot of like hangups around my skill level, so you know that didn't help me during that time. I felt like, God damn, this looks horrible. Like it looks so terrible, and I just don't want to look at it anymore. So you know, I didn't, and I don't. But yeah. So, and then the next assignment I got, you know, I was just to find some like reference studies, and that took a lot of like the load off because I think for a while I had some kind of like stuff I was going through with my social life and my like work life that, you know, made me feel pretty depressed and it like made it hard for me to want to create, honestly. But like recently it all has to do with like mindset. Even if you're going through something hard, like it's your mindset that's gonna like help you get through it at the end of the day because no one's life is perfect. So you just have to like for in order for me to be able to continue working through like stuff always happens in life, but I need to be able to continue working through that, like no matter what. So I think I've adapted. It's taking a lot of time, but I have been adapting like a more positive mindset about my art. And there was a time when I was working on this master study that, you know, I gave up. I really did because some parts of it were so hard. Like trying to do a like this chainmail texture or like this chainmail texture once again. And I just didn't want to buckle down and just do those textures at all. And that was really like a huge reason why I picked this picture. Because it had so many of those elements, you know, wings is something, just kind of weird stuff, and hair. Hair is a huge one. Like metal, fabrics, having a background really became a struggle after I got older for some reason, like had a mental block about it. I just didn't like doing it, didn't feel confident. But working through the study, like I wish I had some more of the intermediary steps, but it didn't always look like this. And I would say like this is obviously not even like completely polished. Um, but working through all these like parts where I just had to like sit my ass down and like just do every single stroke. Sit my ass down and like do every single stroke in order to get the effect, like, and also working in like these shapes of, you know, the dark side, the light side, metals, this pauldron, like this pauldron is something crazy to me, like with just this edge detail and the roundness overall. Like there's it's a simple image, but it's also has like a very good level of complexity to it where it was tolerable for me to do it. And I really learned also like, you know, quote unquote faking the detail. Like this looks, it's incomplete, obviously. Like it's not, but from afar, you know, I still have enough information that I put like, oh, it's something sitting on the surface of this, so there's like a darker line there, you know, to show that it's on top of it. And here I learned like about the copy paste tool once again. You know, I drew one of them and then I just like used a warp tool. So it was really an excellent opportunity for me to get more comfortable using like different brushes in Krita, different digital tools, which I really had neglected in the past, I will say. And also like learning about how artists really complete their work and help give everything like more of a polish, right? Using blend modes, adjusting the saturation at the end and whatnot. Because I think that's one thing about digital art that you just have to learn, like things look a certain way when they're finished products because they did put finishing touches on it. Like it's not like they finished painting and that's how it exactly looked. Like they go in after with stuff. So that was important for me to learn. So doing this picture taught me so much about just like what brushes I could use to achieve that effect, because like I think this is like a watercolor blending brush, but it creates like this very interesting like jagged sort of highlight, or sorry, shape to the brush stroke that I think really represents the metal. Like the metal used in a pauldron is not exactly like a fancy, like shiny metal. It's like a, you know, it's not got that much reflect to it. So just learning how to represent, like, you know, there's like very shiny decorative metallic elements, but there's also just robust utilitarian kind of metal, and how to represent that with the texture. Very interesting to think about. And also the hair in the face was like a massive challenge in this, because in the original image they were just very intense. It's very hard to capture the same angle that he was using. For me it was difficult, but then, you know, once again, like with the hair, it also looked like super complicated in the original. But, you know, I took my time, I broke it down into like those brush strokes, and I feel like I came up pretty good on how they ultimately were represented. So, and the face as well. I feel really proud of what I achieved with the intensity of the face. I feel like it looks really good, honestly. Now, it's not a perfect copy, especially in the wings. I started to like tap out there. Like the wings definitely use some work. They were very detailed, like with a lot of the wings individually almost drawn in the original image, but I kind of stuck to bigger shapes for them. And I really learned as well, like, in order to work on these big pictures, you gotta break them down into small steps, and that's all it is, like, because the thing is, you can do every single, like, small section of an image. Like, you really can, if you just break it down to the smallest points. Like, oh, just draw the eye, just draw the nose, just do the lips. Do it piece by piece, you know, because it can be very overwhelming looking at, like, the big illustration. There's so many things to tackle in that. But if you pay attention to just each part, each segment, it becomes manageable, which is also a very important skill when it came to these kind of like larger projects, even though for him doing this was like a sketch, or, you know, I would say in the sketch territory for him. Like, not his most polished work, but it still looked great, and that was because of all his, experience, you know, doing digital illustration, that he's able to have something that maybe didn't take him as much time as it took me to make it still look incredible. And I think pushing through like my discomfort with this image really pushed me and taught me so much about the digital tools and Krita. Yeah. Yeah, so I want to show this picture. This was, I think, just prior to me signing up to work with the teacher. I I was drawing like this, and I remember drawing this picture and thinking like, I don't even want to like render this out because I know exactly what it's going to take to render it. And at the time, I was just like, I just didn't find any joy in it at all. Because first of all, I was unsatisfied with how my work looked. I really was. I was like, is this just what it is? Like, just rendering until I die? Even though I think my true frustration was with, yeah, not knowing how to color, not knowing how to represent certain things, right? But yeah, I kind of felt very discouraged after this for a while. I remember this coincided with that because I always really loved this Soraka skin, Dryad Soraka. It was like one of my first skins in League, and I do have good memories, and I always loved the splash art for it because I think it's one of the most beautiful illustrations from Riot. So for me, it had that sentimental value attached to it. So I always really wanted to do a picture inspired by it because it's just really one of my artistic inspirations as well. Yeah, so I have probably a few other sketches like this. It's just, I used to work like 2023, 2024. I worked pretty much exclusively in grayscale. I never colored because I knew that like coloring is my weak point. But I think as well after doing the master study, I feel like more confident about color, even though I will say like definitely not professional by any means. Like in color, just feeling like I build a little bit more intuition with it after doing the master study, seeing the way that he works with color. And then I did this, like, I think this was a sketch I did again with a very similar pose. And I redrew it again, and I think this one looks super muddy, super dark, and hard to tell because the only light source is from the hand's glow, so it's just like overall it's pretty too muddy for me, I think. And now I see this one, and this is probably from within a couple of months ago, or even weeks. I don't really remember. But like I think a lot more confident about the shapes, like in terms of like carving the different form of the hair. Like it's not great, but also I do think it looks pretty good. I really do like the face. It may not be perfect. In a lot of ways, the anatomy is obviously like fudgy, but I think it's okay to have fudgy anatomy sometimes, because at the end of the day, what was important for me was just kind of like the emotional aspect of almost like being in channeling something or like prayer almost, putting your hands together, praying. Because that's what Soraka's character is about. Like I feel like she's a priestess or something, and this skin is called Dryad Soraka, and I think Dryad has to do a lot with like nature and connecting. So that's why that pose has always really stuck with me, because it speaks about her power and like her faith, and that's always struck me. And so I did this grayscale sketch a while back, and because I just want to have a go at it again. I really like the angle. It's not great, it's not perfect, but it's like a little bit from an above angle, a little bit different than the original image, but I really like this. I could have probably angled the hands even forward a little bit, like a little bit more space on the chest. I didn't really think about that at the time. I think that probably having some more overlap between the hands here would help bring this part like closer to the camera, but I didn't really think about that. Anyways, it's fine. I really like how the face turned out and the lighting on the face. I mean, I obviously heavily referenced the original splash art when I was drawing this. I always really loved like how her eyes were. I decided to make her eyes unfocused in the image because it's almost like she's receiving this divine message and like she's not here, basically, you know what I mean? So I tried to communicate that with just having non-focused eyes and like no pupils. And then I think within the past weeks, I took it upon myself to like try coloring it for the like coloring over grayscale, which was a really big struggle for me. Like I was drawing on so much in grayscale and I was watching those videos like, oh, how to color from grayscale and whatnot. But honestly, I did use the color mode, which gave me like an imperfect start, of course. And then I try to go over it with some more painting. I just paint over it now and pick what colors I want. And yeah, I feel pretty happy. I even try to add some like effects with like color dodge tool and stuff like that, which is stuff I probably never really would have tried. And then some more finishing touch by adding some like individual hair strokes. So I feel like this is like a really great leap from what I was doing like before. Like I think before it was very stiff. I won't say this is the most like flowy image either, but you know, the hair is definitely flowy, but I think the pose is a little bit stiff for me, even though, you know, prayer is not necessarily flowy or anything like that, but I do feel like this one is a little bit more naturalism. And I used to hate also rendering like clothing materials, but I think after learning about the process of doing it, I also enjoy also drawing fabric and representing that. And yeah, I feel a lot more confident even about picking these colors. So, you know, there's like her hair is like this supposed to be this grass green color, and I think green is always like quite difficult to work in general because the values of green colors are kind of odd. I don't really know really why. People do talk about that. For me, I think it's also like very strange place for it to look attractive for me as well. Now, I do think the green I chose is like a little bit ugly, and the original picture had like a better green in it, but I went with like this grassy color because, you know, she's a dryad, so I tried to pick colors that were more in nature. And I think that's part of like how I build more intuition about color picking too, because, you know, she's a natural sort of character, so I want to pick more colors that are like earthy and stuff, right? And honestly, this background was just imagined. Like, yes, I made it up. Like, it doesn't make any sense, by the way, but you know, that's fine. I think that's fine because it's just about like framing the image right now. It doesn't have to be like perfectly realistic because if I wanted something to be perfectly realistic, I probably wouldn't have done like illustration, right? I think the point of illustration is to bring like some magic into, you know, it's not just about, oh, how would this look in this exact lighting scenario in this condition? It's like, as an artist, I make a decision to add lights maybe where there aren't any, like adding this sort of reflective light, like just to emphasize the shape of the arm or something like that. Or even on the hair, like I really like that, you know, there's such a variation of saturations and colors in the hair, which I really learned from doing the master study. Like this hair may be pink, but there's like a blue color here from the sky. There's a more yellow white color here from the light. So I really took that inspiration and I just like pushed like different colors into the hair, even if it's not like realistic, right? But it's more appealing and that matters too. So I quite like this picture because I think it demonstrated like how I grew from doing the master study, even though it's like still not a perfect picture, but I still quite like it. So And I think most recently, I wish I had taken a before picture, but similar idea. I had drawn this picture of Stock from Radiant Historia doing the silly werewolf pose under the tree, where he's looking off into the distance, like kind of wistfully or solemnly. And the quality of the sketch was pretty similar to this. It was pretty stiff. Like, I didn't completely color it in grayscale, but it was just stiff. The anatomy wasn't great, but now I feel like I have improved my eye for like design and making an image look better and taking some liberties, and also kind of learning more about like that the colors we see are light, and what we try to do in an image is to communicate. So how do we communicate? We communicate the shape of things by like the shadows, the shape of the shadows, and the color of them, the way the light bounces off it, right? So far I really liked working on this, and I've been using a lot of, I did use like the color mode, and this doesn't show the layers, but yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing up this piece a little bit more. And in the past, whereas I would have like maybe struggled to fill in the blanks here, like I might not even draw in the back because I don't have to or anything, but yeah, I feel confident that I would be able to draw in some textures, pull in some references. And what's so great about Krita as well is like you can use this thumbtack tool and paste in images to use as a reference, which I think aided me so much in doing the master study, because I would cut out certain squares of the original reference image, have it right next to me while I'm working, make it like so much easier for me to work piecewise on this illustration. So yeah, that was pretty long, really long, but thank you so much for watching all the way through if you did, and I enjoyed being able to talk about my thought when it came to art, and I look forward to participating in probably both Sketchtember and Inktober this year if I can. So, thank you.